All right, good evening. It's bourbonblog.com's Cigar Saturday. I'm Tom Fischer. We also have Matty Rock and Kevin Sullivan, and also just joining us here, I see in the lobby is Andrew Anderson. What's happening, Andrew and Kevin and everybody?
Oh, what up, kids?
The new improved AA 57.
Yes.
Baby. looking good as only I can look, baby. Woo!
All right, Kevin, he's already ruined it. What are we gonna do?
Tripping, and we're gonna be ripping up the bourbon blog tonight, baby.
Yes.
old
Oh
good
yeah. Got to
On the
definitely enjoy some Jack. We actually just had a Jack Daniels associate distiller on this past week, and I enjoy Peroni as well. Some good stuff.
That's it.
Is that how you get ripped? Is the Jack Daniels and Peroni? That diet is what does it, right, Andrew?
That's a different kind of rip. It helps to get that kind of rip.
Me, I've been fasting, and that put me on a training schedule to really bust my ass. He had me doing first started me off 33 reps. I'd be doing 33, 33, and 33 for biceps, 33, 33, 33 for triceps, and then it'd say when you're done with that, throw an extra 4 in or 5 in, so you get over 100 per body part. He got me doing that for about a month. Then all of a sudden, he's going in, doing 8 reps. Heavier weight. Now he's going in 4 to 5 reps of just really heavy weight to put the muscle back on, the muscle memory. So I'm doing really good. Kevin got me on that diet. He got me back into shape. I don't know why he keeps fading in and out. You keep losing him. There he is. There you are.
Yeah.
Somehow it went off. There we go.
Yeah. I think I'm okay now.
Okay, good. No, you haven't been okay for 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin already had enough of you. You were on for 37 seconds. Kevin's like, fucking, I'm out.
Right on, guys.
Andrew has really done an incredible job. I mean, first of all, losing weight is difficult, but losing weight after you're past 35 is a real bitch. And you guys know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's very
amazing, Kev. I gotta say, he stuck to it. I didn't think he was going to be able to tear it up and take that much off. I'm crazy proud of him.
I am so proud.
You've done great. You have, Andrew.
I'll tell you what. Andrew's got a lot of willpower to get as strong as he does, but getting strong isn't as hard as dieting. And he's dieted his ass off. And we have a friend that the guy, he'll find a Spanish galleon wreck with $200 million and said, oh, I should have found the other one for $220 million. You know what I mean? He said, do you think Andrew got cancer? He's lost so much weight. I said, no, he's busting his balls.
And then he said to Kevin, do you think he got lipo? Kevin goes, that would be a hell of a lot of fat to suction out of that waistline at that time.
Yeah, and he also said too that he was photoshopping the pictures. I said, you're absolutely right, because him and Kim Kardashian go to the same photographer. And I told him, I said, don't tell anybody this, but I think Kim and Andrew are lovers.
I mean, I mean, you know what? All rumors are usually true.
Yeah.
Well, I heard a rumor that Sanj Patel is actually a lover with Bruce Jenner or whatever he is now. I heard Sanj been on the swollen cock cigars.
Sanjay, now he might not be hearing it because it's Kit Kat's party tonight, so he might not be hearing it over there because I was getting my last minute packing and stuff done.
Matty, you're heading someplace, aren't you, Matty?
Yep. I'm off to the Bahamas to to relax a little bit. As everybody knows, today was a particularly tough day for myself and a whole lot of other people. So I'm happy to go and relax and rewind. I don't think anybody here will ever forget. And, I wish the best for everybody, and I hope we could all have some remembrance and raise everybody's spirits a bit, and let everyone know how much we actually do love and care about each other, even though we all beat up each other a little bit. So much love to everybody out there who's feeling a little bit down and hurt.
Yeah.
Well, feeling down and hurt.
Where in the Bahamas are you going?
I'm going to Nassau, Kev. I'm staying at the SLS.
Yeah, I lived in Nassau for a while in Spanish Wells. In Nassau, I lived on Love Beach, down from the British consulate. And then I also had a friend of mine gave me a little cottage in Spanish Wells when I was there. I love the Bahamas.
Wow. Well, Kev, me and Matty are cooking something up for the Bahamas, aren't we?
Yep. Like I said, I love the Bahamas. I lived down there 7 years ago. The IBM building on Bay Street. So that's where Banco Nacional was. So, almost 30 years ago, before there was Paradise Island. It was just one-and-one. It was one-and-one resorts, Merv Griffin's resorts, and I lived in the Sheraton Grand. We're talking a long time ago. There was no Atlantis. There was no nothing.
Oh, I know. I lived there. I lived there in '85. A friend of this is crazy. Do you know the bridge you go over?
Yep.
To Paradise Island now.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a restaurant there called the Bridge Inn, and the boys used to go after we wrestled. The guy invited us all over. So what was strange was we got to talking, and he was from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Was that Joe?
What?
Joe Guy?
Yeah, Joe High Guy. We became friends. And because his kid went to school there, and my uncle was the principal of the school he went to, Small World, right? And Joe was a permanent resident. And my job, I quit wrestling or just go on weekends. My job was I gamble for Joe. As you know, if you're a permanent resident or a citizen, you can't gamble.
Against the law, correct.
I used to go and gamble for Joe, and I don't know how to gamble, but every night I'd win. And usually there was nobody playing at the table but me and the dealer. And the only thing I could figure out was we were going between 4:30 and 6, and we went to 3 different casinos. Because 2 of them were on Paradise Island. Was it the Queen Elizabeth Hotel back then that had the casino?
Yes.
Okay, we went to that one and another one, and then we went to one not too far from the place that I lived. He had a
Crystal Palace, right? If you were in
that's it.
Yeah, you were in what's Crystal Palace?
He had a huge house, and it was split into wings. He gave me 13 rooms and a swimming pool overlooking the ocean, and all I had to do was gamble for him. But I think I figured it out back then. I think that's when they were taking the film down from 4:30 to 6 because it was slow, and I think they were doing something with it at the time. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know how to gamble. In fact, when I'm sitting there, they wouldn't even ask me if I wanted to hit. They were playing the cards for me.
Wow.
We need you to figure that out again. Forget 30 years. We need to restart that up.
Yeah.
Everyone on this Screen will take one of those rooms right about now.
Yeah, what a wonderful guy he was. I watched the 85 Super Bowl, the Patriots against maybe the greatest team of all times, the Chicago Bears.
Bears, yep.
And I was
Man.
I was out in the middle of the ocean spearfishing and coming up and watching the game.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go to from right off of Luthra, there's a little island. And when I had the gym, a guy came in and joined, and you have to fill out the paperwork. And he said he was from the Bahamas. So I said to him, "What island you from?" He said, "Oh, you wouldn't know it." I said, "Is it by Luthra?" "Yeah, but you wouldn't know it." I said, "Is it current?" He said, "How did you know?" I said, I've dove current." It was the most amazing thing. You suit up and you dive off the current itself, just jump in the water, and the current would take you out to the ocean, but the current as you went would take you to wrecks. There was all kinds of wrecks there. It was fabulous. And I love the atmosphere there. You know what I mean? It was a wonderful, wonderful place.
Well, Kev, as you and Matty know, we know we're just giving we're throwing out a little Easter egg. We eventually somewhere down the road this summer we're going to be in the Florida Keys, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah.
Matty knows it, and a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, Tom Alan Bishop, is also involved in it too. So,
great! He's going to be at whereabouts?
We're going to be in the Florida Keys and Key West. We're cooking something up.
The
political climate in Cuba is not favorable for us to continue at this time, so it's on hiatus, temporary hiatus. We're hoping temporary. But
and you said Alan Bishop from the distillery is going to be there with you.
Yes, he's with us. He's working hand in hand with us.
Nice. Yep. Are we able to tell, or is it more? Is it news to come?
It's news to come. It's news to come.
I'm thrilled to hear that. That's great.
Yes, we're going to be doing a lot of bourbon tasting as well as wrestling.
Nice. Very nice.
We're bringing.
And when is that going to be? Just so we know.
November 13th is going to be our first show. We're going actually to the Keys to lock it in.
November 13th.
November 13th, and then we're going to take it there on in. But and nothing is finalized yet except for the date of the 13th, and we're going to pull it off, and we're going to see what happens from there on in. And
very nice.
We're actually going down. I believe it's the 20th to the 24th to
meet with Al
and meet with everybody.
Nice, very nice. Well, more to come. Matty, what do you have? What do you have planned while you're on your trip? You have anything in particular planned?
Thanking Matty for it because
our
partner Jeff Weaver McGill, he is one of the guys that Matty came through for us, and Matty and Alan, they really went to town for me, and we were kind of in a little bit of a jam, and Matt pulled out a rabbit out of his hat, and then Alan took that rabbit and ran with it, and it was off to the races, and we haven't looked back since. In 2 weeks, and it's we're going down to the Keys to finalize the deal.
That is great news.
Yep, and when you have stuff like this, and you have the experience that you have over on the screen with Kevin and Andrew, it's only going to equal great stuff.
Yes.
Remember,
let me interrupt for a second.
Go ahead.
Hey, let's talk about where you're going. Where are you going?
My pasty ass is going to go down to the Bahamas, and it's going to sit there and do absolutely.
But are you going anywhere in Nassau around?
I might hit up Crystal Palace or just to go to Grey Cliff and everything else. So if I go to Grey Cliff, everybody here will be getting a freshly rolled cigar from Grey Cliff. And as we know, when I'm down there, Kevin, because you know the food and Drew knows the food, I'll be doing my fried cracked conch. I'll be getting conch fritters. I'll be getting grouper fritters. All the least important stuff, except getting myself nice and fat, smoking some sticks. And since I don't drink adult beverages, I'll be stopping at Junkanoo Punch, a local island favorite kind of thing. I'll be drinking my punch.
Matty.
Nice.
Okay, before I haven't seen him in years, but we're like brothers. There's a right on before you go over. If you came to the Rotary, where you could go around the Rotary and then go over to Atlantis, if you
Yep,
take a right,
bridge. Yep.
if you take a right, there's a restaurant called the Lighthouse.
Okay.
Colin.
So I might have to go to the lighthouse and tell him now. If I get kicked out of me and thrown in the water, that's on you, right?
Yeah, go there. They have if you like the conch. I mean, I had conch every way, and I love it. But the only time I didn't really love it, they brought it out of the water, cleaned off the salt water, and cut it in three pieces. And it was still moving.
Yep.
It looked like Andrew's ass.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's got great food there, and his youngest brother. If you want to go snorkeling and dive trip, he's over in the Abacos, and he can take you on an incredible dive trip. I went on one of the most eeriest things I've ever been in. I went on a dive trip with them, and we went through these tunnels. And I'm not a big tunnel guy, cave diver. And we're going through, it was me, my wife, my youngest one, who's the best diver in the family. She's half dolphin, I think. And another couple, and this guy was a huge rugby star from Australia. And they were, they know rugby in the Bahamas, as you know. And we were going through these tunnels, and all of a sudden we turned, and there was a gravestone with the guy's name and the date, born and died. And when we got on there, I asked Lightborn, his name is Colin's brother's name, Dickie Lightborn, and I asked him, I said, what's that about? He lived in the Bahamas, and he loved motorcycles, and he had a girlfriend in Montreal and went to see the girlfriend and died on a motorcycle wreck. And the father dove into those caves because that was his favorite dive and buried him in the cave, the ashes, and put a headstone in there. It was really eerie, man. Really eerie.
Yeah, I think
tell Matty about when you were diving in the Keys or off Miami, and you saw the lights, the UFO lights.
No, in Spanish Wells. I used to go out with the boys. If you look at, well, did you guys see Blow
with Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know the island that what was his name? Escobar.
Mm-hmm.
No, Pablo. It wasn't Pablo Escobar. It was Lita, Carlos Lita. I knew him. He lived on that island, and Spanish Wells was the next island over. And I got to know the guys really well, or you couldn't go over the island. Craziest place I ever went, and you guys can understand this because you were over there the time I was. Spanish Wells had one bar, two bars really. One bar was right on the dock. It was called the Purple Langusta, and that's the name for lobster over there. They had a bar, but no bartender. You went behind the bar and filled whatever you're going to have, and there was a cigar box, and you put in, the price for the drink or a tip, and it was really cool. So I used to go diving with these guys because they were, half fish. They were incredible. And they told me that they used to hear it would sound like a train and lights underneath the water. Now, I'm not into the conspiracy theories, but I do believe we're not the only people in the whole universe that is intelligent, because we're not that intelligent. So I asked them what they thought it was. They said, well, it's something, and we've seen it enough that we believe, there's bases or whatever. So I thought they were ribbing me. And I went out and we went night diving, which is a real trip, especially out there because all the predators come out at night. You got the big lights and stuff. And we got back on the boat and I heard it. And I could see some lights. Now, I'm not going to say it wasn't our sub or some submersible sub or something else, but I saw a light and I heard the sound, and it was something being propelled through the water, and it was a pretty amazing thing. Pretty amazing. So I think there's something to that stuff.
Maybe it was a submarine close by.
Could have been, but I don't know.
The water's too shallow over there, though.
Yeah, the water's too shallow, and I don't think that most, I may be wrong, but I don't think most submarines have lights on it. And like you said, Andrew, being in that shallow water, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, but, you can be influenced by people telling you stories over and over again. And maybe, I was on the boat and maybe there was something else besides Jameson being passed around, and maybe I got influenced that way. But it's such a beautiful place. I'm envious, Matty, and have a wonderful, wonderful time, my man. Have a wonderful time.
We will find a way to get back down there since Cuba is on the.
Yeah.
So what's stuff that you two guys can tell everybody that's going on?
Tomorrow we're heading out to Vegas.
Yeah, we're heading out to Vegas, which is a trip. I never went to the Cauliflower Alley Club until 2 years ago, I believe it is now. I went out and I awarded Andrew up, and it was rightfully so that he got it, the Improvement Award, and I had a great time. And it's great to see the guys, and it's great to see, guys you haven't seen in a while. So we're going out there, and we'll probably meet promoters that we've worked for before, and
we're going to network, basically.
Yeah, and work for again.
Yeah, it's a chance to reunite. Oh, look what he's got, Kevin. Look what he's holding.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
That's fine for him.
And
you autograph for him.
Yeah, I'm actually I didn't even tell you this, Andrew. It came up today. I'm going to do a podcast with L.A. Taylor about her book. She's got this book out, and it's goes back to the late 30s, early 40s, and how and why professional wrestling was actually started and organized in 1948, and why the main towns were on port cities, and a lot of shady characters in the back, and it's a woman, L.A. Taylor, and she knew the Sheik very well, and I knew the Sheik very well, and she got some great information. But to change the names, protect the innocent. It's basically a historical novel.
A reenactment.
Yeah, but you can tell who's who and how things happened. And if you're a wrestling historian, it's going to be in 3 chapters. It's called Wrestling Old School. And I forget the name of the first one, but they're all called Wrestling Old School. But
yeah, let's see if I have a copy of the book somewhere over here. Should I show it?
Yeah.
Let's get the book.
Definitely show that so people can see that.
It talks about the change of wrestling too. Like when Luthez was champion, he wouldn't allow women or midgets to be on the card. And back in the day, most of the world title matches were 2 out of 3 falls, and if Lou didn't want to lose a fall, he didn't lose a fall. And you'd be surprised that some of the guys that he respected, like Gorgeous George, he respected Gorgeous George because Gorgeous George could really wrestle, and there was a street in Houston, or a neighborhood in Houston, where about 10 big stars came from. And they were all amateur wrestlers, and Lou kind of respected, not kind of, he respected them all. And he'd go drop a fall to them, which was back in the day almost impossible. You know what I mean? So it shows the difference of how the business has changed. How at one time you had to be really able to wrestle, and little things like Vern Gagne. He created the AWA because back in the day when there was national television, there was 2 NWA promoters. On Monday and Wednesday, they were Fred Kohler. On Tuesday and Thursday, there were Leonard Schwartz. And even though they're NWA promoters, they allowed Leonard Schwartz. Think about how crazy this mentality was. They allowed Leonard Schwartz to promote a Native American, Don Eagle, who drew all kinds of money when he went to Europe, especially England. I mean, we're talking about in the 50s, he was making 10 grand a week in England. And but Fred Kohler made him the United States champion. And because of that, Lou was really pissed off because he thought it diminished the NWA belt. Even though the guy across the street have the AWA belt, he did have Lou on the card sometimes, where he'd have both championships were later on in Florida. They did that quite a bit. But Vern was, going to get that belt, but because he wouldn't give it up, Lou held it against him. And there's things like that you can find out, because I think it's funny. We're talking about back in the day when there were still guys saying, grab your best hold.
Yep.
Yeah, there was politics way back then, just like there is today. So it's very interesting.
I'm going to read a little bit off the back of the book, the preface. Okay. Old School Ring Squared is a fictionalized tale of professional wrestling's explosive popularity during its early years. Its story parallels television's expansion after World War II. This novel takes an intimate look inside professional wrestling with close explorations of people who made it. You'll meet the kings of the ring and the powers behind the throne from the sport's earliest days, 1947 1968. Mob connections, fixed matches, legends. From coast to coast, the promoters, many former wrestling champs, controlled territories for the sport. Nothing is sacred, nothing is guaranteed in the back rooms, and betrayals for those involved in a sport that is either on the brink of success by a television or on the edge of an abyss as a result of shady illegal activities. Rough and riveting, this novel asks, did TV make wrestling or did wrestling make TV? How's that?
And it's true, you know what I mean? Wrestling popularity skyrocketed and live events skyrocketed where it hurt boxing. They were both on, you know, boxing was on almost every night too. But they were, and this goes back to Jim Barnett. Jim Barnett was smart enough that after a while, he understood that if he kept on having his top guys wrestling one another, that they burn out. And Jim and I became friends, and he told me that's why he went to Australia, because he said to me one time, how many times can Bobo Brazil wrestle the Sheik, and how many times can Buddy Rogers wrestle Billy Darnell? And what happened was boxing did the same thing. They had great fights on TV where Jim's idea was to create smashes, like they would take Andrew and put him against somebody, and Andrew would smash him, and he'd be getting a baby face ready for Andrew, and that's when the interviews really started. So it's a pretty cool thing to see how the origin of professional wrestling and professional boxing, because we were cousins at one time.
They ran parallel.
Yeah, I mean, there was, I saw a thing, and it wasn't in this book, where in the summer in Montreal and Toronto, because the promoter in Boston, who at one time was the most influential promoter in the country, ran Montreal on Friday and Toronto and Saturday, or vice versa. But every match that was a main event in those two towns for the whole summer was refereed by Rocky Marciano, Ezra Charles, Joe Louis, light heavyweight champion Archie Moore. We were that close together, and the boxers had a lot of respect because, you know, they knew how tough Lou Thez was and some of the top guys. So it's interesting to see that there was a parallel, and then eventually we broke away, and they kind of didn't want to be seen with us, and all of a sudden they want to be seen with us. And you know, let me tell you what I think the biggest mistake that the WWE has made since Vince Jr. has taken over. Do you remember when Tyson Fury went to Saudi Arabia?
Mm-hmm.
And he fought Braun Strowman?
Mm-hmm.
That was glossed over. You had the real world boxing champion against Braun Strowman, and he knocked him out, and, you know, supposedly knocked him out, but that wasn't even carried. I never even saw anything about it. I mean, that was a big deal. It was, to me, maybe even more than Tyson and Austin, because Tyson had been through, he had been retired, but we had the real world heavyweight champion against one of the top contenders in WWE.
Shawn Michaels, Austin.
What?
It was Shawn Michaels versus Austin with Tyson as the ref.
Yeah, and we didn't they didn't follow through with it, so I don't know. I mean,
well, they originally set up Andre versus Chuck Wepner to set up Inoki versus Ali, right?
that was the same night. I was on that card in Shea Stadium. I was the first match against, of all people, Jose Gonzalez, the man that murdered
Bruce Brody.
Yeah.
Remember they had Big Show and Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Yeah.
And he actually broke Paul's nose.
Yeah.
Definitely want to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Kevin and Andrew, these are such great stories. Ask down below. And again, so great to have you guys. Make sure you like this video, share it. I want to make sure I do see someone else in the waiting room who we're going to bring on. And I know we're all different places tonight. It's our good friend from the show, on the show every week, Sanj Patel, joining us. How's it going, Sanj?
Fuck.
Andrew Anderson, you're fucking going to get it. And that's the end of it.
Listen, Gandhi, I don't want to hear about it.
Come anytime or call me. You're going to get it.
I miss you.
Miss you too, brother.
I love you.
Good to see you, Sanj.
Guest here tonight. It's actually Cat's surprise party. We have the gentleman who's blending our cigar, very well known in the cigar industry. It's Chico Rivas.
Wow.
All right.
Hello, Chico.
How's it going, Chico? Good to see you.
Hey, Chico, we need to blend a Golden Spike cigar.
Anything he wants. Listen, there is no one better in this industry than Chico Rivas.
Kevin, what do you think? A Taskmaster Golden Spike cigar?
And Golden Spike cigar. You got to get a golden
wrapping paper.
Yes.
You guys will appreciate this. Bobby Shane is a name that's forgotten in history. He was one of the great workers in our business. Hey, and
everybody wish Kat wedding for her wedding. Congratulations, we love you.
I love you more.
Whoa, you blinded us. Blinded us.
But you're gonna get it, Andrew Anderson. Right in this ground, right in this very ground. I'm gonna fuck you up. Right here.
Hey, son, remember when you got Tokyo Monster, me and Sam Houston green? We turned green.
Yes.
He got him nice and sick. He said, "Give me something mild and strong." Absolutely.
Got me, strong. Tokyo and Sam Houston. We turned green.
Somebody's gonna get fucked up. That's all I'm telling you. Guys, you enjoy. My pleasure. I have a party with a lot of guests. See you guys later.
I love you.
It's good to see you, Sanj.
Great to have me.
That ass kicking ain't gonna help you, Andrew.
Hey, what up, baby?
What's going on?
What's happening?
Hey, what's up, Tom? What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Andrew the Enforcer.
What's going on, my brother?
Good night.
Much
Good to see you guys. Have fun, Sanj.
My buddy Zach just shot me a text, Kevin. He wants to know how he could get a spike, and I guess a bunch of other people online.
They're asking.
Spike from you?
Andrew has a supply of them that I have collected and used them over the years. So if they were getting in touch with Andrew, you got your website handy?
Andrew? We just get in touch with Matty Rock. And they're $60 each plus shipping and handling, autographed by both myself and Kevin.
Wow.
Yeah. Right here, guys.
Oh, those are so cool.
It's an actual railroad spike, and they've all been actually used in the ring. Some of them actually have dried blood on it, so you got some wrestlers' DNA on it.
So there could be some DNA. And again, is there a website they want to go to, or just reach out to Matty?
Contact Matty Rock. Contact Matty Rock.
Contact Matty. Any websites with upcoming events you guys have? Where's the best place to get the info?
We're coming up to the Cauliflower Alley. Go to caulifloweralley.com.
And then Championship Wrestler from Florida Reloaded.
CWF Reloaded. Championship Wrestling from Florida Reloaded. We'll be there November 13th in Key West, Florida.
And SWE Fury, which we are there every month.
And also, what's the other one?
Donna,
coming to
Indiana.
For we're going to be in Heroes and Legends in Indianapolis, Indiana, October 2nd. We have both a live wrestling event where I'll be wrestling against Nick Cutler. Kevin is my manager, and also Sunday from 12 to 7 p.m. in Indian. No, that's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and then from there we have I have a lot of shows. This not this Friday, not today. A week from today, I'll be wrestling in Ridgefield Park, New Jersey for East Coast Pro Wrestling TV taping, a small TV taping, local show, but great talent, a lot of upcoming rising stars. I'll be there working with one of the students in the ring, teaching them the ropes. You'll see it live action. It's a lot of fun. The kids love it. And then Kevin and I, we're going to be in Rhode Island on the 25th, in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And then also we're going to be December 11th, for World Class Wrestling Revolution in Irving, Texas. So that's a new promotion. That's well, it's an older promotion, but it's blowing up, and we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things in the hat.
Wow.
And,
guys, what we're going to do is going to be in the mix is there's going to be an online master calendar where you can find events that
Right.
we're going to be doing. Not there quite.
Maddie's going to put the calendar up with all our dates on it for on the Bourbon Blog website, so they could just go to the Bourbon Blog website. They could find you, myself, wherever we're going, our individual bookings and our bookings, which most of them, Kevin do most of our bookings together now. You know, we work hand in hand. You know, I make sure he doesn't piss while he's on the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, we'll be happy to post those dates. Absolutely, it'll be so good to see you guys. So you're gonna be in Indiana. You're gonna be so many places coming up. It'll be good to see you guys. Hopefully, one of these.
October 22nd, Kevin's going to be in Los Angeles for PCW Ultra.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, for PCW Ultra, he's going to be in California.
It's the first event they've had since COVID shut them down a year and a half ago. Who runs it is the Almighty Sheik. He's the tag team partner with Fatu, and he, as an independent company, drew $100,000 house. He is very smart. He, as a promoter, he's smart enough to pass jobs around and let people work hard at their job, but he comes behind them, make sure there's no mistakes. And he's put together over the last 3 or 4 years an amazing job, because I mean, he's had Terry. I was in the last event Terry Funk ever had. It was, hopefully Terry will be back in the ring. Terry and I got in an altercation there. He's had, he brought in Muta, and I'll tell you how smart he is. He went to Sapporo Beer, and they gave him $25,000. That paid for Muta and his wife, because they fly first class, and he always has Japanese style. A young boy came with them, and it might have helped pay some of his pay. But he also had a Sapporo, you know, those little 7-ounce little cups.
Right.
He had the beers were $7, and he got $1 off of every beer. And he just does things, the nuts and bolts of things. He does an amazing job. Puts together amazing talent. He's done it all. I've known him for a long time. And
he was a former NWA champion.
Yeah, former NWA champion. But I got off a subject that I want to ask Matty. Matty, I'll tell you how I got into cigars. My dad smoked cigars.
Oh.
But And my brother smokes cigars. But you know how that story I was telling you about Bobby Shane? Bobby Shane was way ahead of his time. And he was he wrestled Jack Briscoe numerous times for the title. He was a big draw in Tampa. But you know Ybor City, you know, the cigar capital in the United States at one time.
Yep, the oldest where cigars really came into U.S. culture in Florida. Yep.
Right. And they made he was called the King of the Ring, Bobby Shane. He was King of the Ring way before Lawler. And he actually had old cigar company, very popular in Ybor City, make him a cigar. And they became the hottest selling cigars in the Tampa area at one time.
Probably Havana Tampa, probably. Yep. Havana. Yep.
And you know, I at one time I had with the people that we're going to talk about, and hopefully they'll be there when we're in Key West. Lazara Yachts, they're friends of mine, and I had a percentage of a sushi bar with them, and back in the day in Ybor City, and you know, Ybor City still has the old buildings, and if you go to the restaurants or anything down there, you'll see, you know, the Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War. Teddy Roosevelt was stationed there. You'll see Tampa was a great fight town and wrestling town. You'll Kid Gaviland, you'll see pictures of him when he was down on his luck shining shoes after Castro had taken everything from him. Kid Chocolate, they had, it was a great little, it was like being in Havana without leaving Tampa. It had great food, great cigar. They
A lot
had,
of culture.
Yeah, a lot of Cuban culture. And not
kept
just
distilled, which is nice. You go down there and it's exactly what you said. You see some of it. One of the oldest cigar factory buildings in the country is still there. So they did a really good job preserving that cigar culture, and it's neat because it's like you said, wrestling came from there, fighting came from there. When the rums came in from Cuba, they found their way over there. So yeah, you hit that pocket where all those things. You could still see where the original footprint of it all started. Yep.
Well, this is where my ADD comes in. I have to give a quick plug to a good friend of mine, Tommy Fierro, who has been a longtime promoter. Kevin knows him well. Tommy, I want to promote. Last week, Tommy ran a show, ISPW, in Butler, New Jersey, and ISPW, Independent Stars of Professional Wrestling. He ran a hell of a show, and he's got a store called The Wrestling Collector. If you're in Stockholm, New Jersey, if you're in Northwest Jersey, come pay a visit to the Wrestling Collector. Great store, great memorabilia. Has a little bit of everything for everyone, from toys and action figures for the kids to the old magazines from the 60s, 70s. He's got posters, he's got flyers, he's got everything, and memorabilia up the wazoo. And he's running now ISPW, brought it back, and we had a hell of a show. And
our buddies who's been on it. Snitsky was there.
Yeah.
Brother Richie was there. All of our peeps are there, so we're
going to be wrestling. We're going to be wrestling in Totowa at the I think the Totowa, I think it's a rec center, or I'm not exactly 100% sure, on November 19th. So ISPW November 19th. So and it's we got a lot going on, and I feel like we've let our gracious host Tom Fischer not get a word in the whole night. I'm going to ask Tom, I'm going to ask you, what were you drinking tonight?
What I've been drinking a couple things. I'm having a little bit of a Breckenridge port barrel aged, which is really close to me. I've been having some of this, which is really quite nice. It's a port barrel Breckenridge Bourbon age, and also some Peerless Rye Whiskey single barrel, along with the Florida Sun Grown cigar. And you enjoyed your Jack. You had a little Jack and some beer.
I love Jack. I love Old Number 7.
Yes.
I have over here a bunch of cigars that I'm going to be bringing to the Cauliflower Rally Club that Matt gave me.
Nice.
You can see them right
wow.
there. Matty, describe the ones you gave me.
So we got some that everyone's favorites in there. There's some Pappy Van Winkles in there, and these are the and these are the Pappy Van Winkles. There's two. There's the traditional, and then there's these that are infused with the actual Pappy Van Winkle infusion. You're going to get some of the Kentucky Fire Cured tobacco in there.
Love them.
I have 2 Cubans in there too.
2 Cubans
and George Burns, right?
Well, the George Burns is Dominican, so that cigar is literally 20-something years old. It's probably 25, 26 years old. I wanted to put something in there that was fun.
Wow.
Guys like so you have.
I'm bringing a couple of Cohibas and one of the Trinidadians to bring. So me and Kevin, when we're at the Cauliflower Rally, before this shows up, me and him are going to smoke a few, and in the casino. And
to the guys that don't really understand the importance of Cauliflower Alley, kind of fill them in a little bit, Andrew, about the Hall of Fame.
Well, the Cauliflower Rally Club was started 55 years ago. We're on the 55th anniversary of it, and we're really trying to preserve wrestling history and protect some of the men involved, the men and women who've paved the way in the sport. It's a nonprofit organization. It's done wonders for people. Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, a lot of you know him, who passed away earlier this year. They actually helped save his house when it was in foreclosure. They do a lot of fundraising. They help superstar Billy Graham a few times. They help a lot of the wrestlers who are down on the luck and don't have, the funds to take care of themselves. So that would it's almost like a union for the wrestlers, which we really don't have. And they've helped a lot of guys, get out of bad situations. And, they protect our own. We protect our own. It's for boxers, wrestlers, guys in MMA, but it's predominantly wrestlers. It's been known because the cauliflower ear. But it's a great organization. You can go to caulifloweralley.com. You can become a lifetime member for I think $325 or $350. You can become a member a month at $25. So it's a great organization for a business which we as wrestlers have put our bodies on the line to entertain you. Now it's also business, and I'm not going to lie, we also make a living out of it, and the goal is to make money like everyone else in the business, but we make a living putting our bodies on the line to entertain you guys, to entertain the general populace. And a lot of careers have lasted because people have wrestled smart, and a lot of people haven't wrestled smart. Some guys have saved their money, some guys haven't saved their money. So but an organization like the Cauliflower Alley is bridging the gap and trying to help those that have the have-nots in the business, or the guys that had and no longer have, and try to put people back in a good frame of mind, a good state of health, and a good better state of living. And for those 3 days while we're up there in Las Vegas at the Gold Coast, we have a good time. It's a hootenanny, right, Kev?
Yes, it is. It is.
It's guys you haven't seen in years.
I would love you guys to come out one year, because it's a unique situation, because after you've wrestled as long as Andrew and I have, you forget some of your matches. They show a picture there, and I'm going to ask them, could I get a duplicate or something? But I actually, as a young boy, was Lou Thesz's tag team partner in a 6-man tag team. And there's a picture of me, Paul Jones, who was our partner, Lou, Jersey Joe Walcott was the referee for the match, which I was talking about earlier, the boxing, former world champion, heavyweight champion, took Rocky Marciano to the limit, 15 rounds. One time they had 2 fights. And the announcer is Frank Friedman. Frank Friedman was the announcer in Miami for years, boxing and wrestling. But he introduced Ali against Liston on the first Ali Liston fight. And there's a picture of them, and Frank was as dapper could be, And this kind of gets back to that wrestling old school because, Frank was involved in boxing during the time that the mob controlled or had, I'm not going to say control, but had a big say in boxing. And I learned something from Frank because I would ask Frank for I'd say because he'd go to all the big fights in Miami and all in Florida, but most of the big fights were in Miami and Tampa, so they'd fly him up to Tampa and he'd do the fights. But I learned how to make money from Frank because I'd say to Frank, who's going to win the fight next Friday? And he'd tell me. And I would bet against the guy he told me because he was kayfabing and hiding the finish. So every time he told me, if he said Leon Spinks was going to beat Cleveland Williams, I'd bet on Cleveland Williams and I'd win. You know what I mean? It was a different era, and it's funny how wrestling, boxing, cigars, and alcohol were like part of the society. So big. It was such a big part of society. And, if you go back, and Matty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, they didn't frown on seeing boxers smoking cigars, getting ready for fights. I always, and the attitude was going back to what we're talking about, Ybor City and the people that came over and settled in Ybor City and Tampa and Miami. Most of the guys that became boxers probably worked in the tobacco fields in Cuba. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it happened. That's how it came up. Like I said, everything you go back and you can find how everything kind of intermingled and intertwined together. And there's a reason. That's why, like you said, you look at Ybor City. That's why you have that rich history there because all those things kind of came together there. I mean, you could write a history book about Ybor City and Miami and Tampa, just about that stuff, and how everything kind of gelled and came together. And like I said, the things that are intertwined that people just don't get. That's something Andrew and I have to get. Is we got to get you to do a book, Kevin, because people don't understand things actually culminated and came together like that. So it's
Kevin
wild.
should have a book.
Well, I've thought about this too. I've spent. Think about this. I told you I just told you, I was Luthez' tag team partner, who was managed by Strangler Lewis, and who had wrestled George Hackenschmidt. So I can, in some ways, my lineage goes back to the first first recognized world heavyweight champion. It's funny how, the 6 degrees of separation, and if you look back at it, it's a great blend of, as we get older, the nostalgia that, I can. My family's been in the boxing business since about 18. I'm going to say John L. Sullivan I think he was my third great uncle, if not my fourth. He was the last bare knuckle champion. He was the first glove heavyweight champion. Then Tom McNeely, who fought Floyd Patterson, was my first cousin, and Peter McNeely, who fought Tyson when Tyson got out of prison, that first fight. I'll tell you a story about that. Tyson fought McNeely, right? And he was my second cousin. And John Coyley, who fought for the welterweight belt, was my cousin also. But you know, when you think about things, how your mind can play tricks on you. Tyson fought McNeely, right? His first fight back when he came out of prison for supposedly the rape charge. Who won that fight, and how did they win it?
I don't remember. I think McNeely won, didn't he?
No, McNeely got disqualified in 89 seconds. His father was his trainer.
Wow.
It was either 89 or 88 seconds. Do you know why?
Mm-mm.
His father had bet $2 million that Peter couldn't go 90 seconds with Tyson. He jumped in the ring and caused the DQ. He didn't throw in the towel, which is a stoppage. He jumped in the ring.
Wow.
And, so I know we're jumping all over the place tonight, but I think that, when we talk about cigars and whiskey and having a good time, like the other night I watched Tom Brady, and I had a shitty cigar, but it's still good. You know what I mean? It isn't what Matty's laid on us for this weekend. Appreciate it, Matty. And I had a little Jameson, some.
I know you like the Jameson, don't you, Kevin?
Yeah.
That's one of your favorites?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. I went to Ireland on St. Patrick's Day 5 years ago for 2 weeks. So my wife, one of the things she can do is she can plan a trip where you go to different places and they're unique. There's a thing called Charm and Relax. You can go on the computer, or you could. Even though they're not a chain, they have something in common. Like I've stayed in them in Europe, where in Italy, where one of the places we stayed was we stayed in Taormina. It was the last house that is Prince of Sicily. But the guy was Spanish, because everybody conquered Sicily. Yeah, sorry about that. Everybody had conquered them. But so when I went to Ireland, we go and my wife booked this farm in the west side by Donegal. That's where my family is from. We did the research and stuff. So she said, "Oh, you're going to like this one." I said, "Oh, okay." So we drive up, and we had just stayed in a couple of castles, and we pull up, and it's a farm. Saying, "What the hell? It's the middle of nowhere." So we go, and it's the number one distillery for Jamesons in the country at the time, where they actually did it from the seed to the bottle. So the guy said to me when we checked in, he said, "I have some Jamesons that's 30 years old. Would you like some?"
Wow.
And my wife looked at me, and they give it to the people that are high up in Jamesons, and, gifts for people. He had it in a crystal container. And when I he says, "Let me pour you a glass." He pours me a glass. He pours himself a glass with the toast. And I take a sip, and he looks at me and says, "This is mother's milk." I laugh my ass off.
So it was a 30-year-old Jameson. How did it?
Yeah.
It had some real age to it.
Oh, it went down perfectly. You know what I mean? And of course, I made a pig of myself. Would you like a little more? Oh, what gives you that impression? I got my glass in his face, But there's something about a cigar and whether it's Jack or a good scotch or a nice wine, it sets the night off right, I think.
Well, I got to tell you, I've never gotten more yelled at when we go out to dinner and I order a Jack and Diet or a Crown and Coke. That Kevin yells at me, literally looks at the waitress or waiter and says, the bartender, and says, he doesn't need the Diet. He doesn't need the Coke. He just needs the straight up Jack, the straight up bourbon, the straight up Jameson. And I wind up having to drink it straight up, not my usual Jack and Diet, Crown and Diet.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's how you like it, that's quite all right. If that's how you enjoy it.
I defer to the wise sage over there.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize this, but me and Kevin from the day we met, you know how we bonded? We didn't bond through wrestling. We bond because we're history buffs, right, Kev?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
you got to definitely convince Kev to make that book. I think it's great, and then we'll.
Oh yeah, that would be a great book that Kevin would have. But again, tell us the name of the book you showed us earlier, just to take a look at.
The book is Old School.
Old School, and that one we can find. You all recommend that, right?
It's on
Amazon. It's at Amazon. It's on Amazon, and it's in. I actually saw it in
the library.
I live in an island. I think you guys know that, right? So I like to go to the library because they're really nice to me. Like they'll order these if you really want to read a really shaking book that shakes you to the bones. There's a book called To Hell of Barbados, and people don't understand this. There was a break in the English crown when Cromwell took over, and he sent. There was 9 million people in Ireland when he came into power. A year later, there was 900,000 of them, and he was executing them if they didn't speak English. But I would say that to somebody, and no one did know what I'm talking about, but Andrew would. So this book goes back to, you can have a trip down memory lane because you can figure out who the people are. Like sometimes they talk about Lucky Luciano, and then they one of the characters I feel like they're talking about is how Vince came out of nowhere and took
Vince
over.
McMahon. If the field that I got was Vince McMahon Sr., Jim Barnett, Vern Gagne, who else? What was his name? Willie Gilzenberg, Eddie Graham.
Willie Gilzenberg. Do you guys know that name?
Actually, I don't know that one.
Okay. Jeff. Willie Gilzenberg was the fake WWF champion.
Owner.
Champion, yep. Not champion. Head president,
like Jack Tunney was.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, he ran at one time the longest running consecutive boxing shows in Newark. For 50 years, he ran fights on a Friday night. But he was involved in the Rocky Graciano, Johnny Sexton, If you ever saw the Raging Bull, that fight, it was in Cleveland where they were booing Rocky because they could tell it was a setup. Do you remember that?
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember him crying because he threw the fight? Well, Gilsenberg was the one that got him to throw the fight. It was they knew, but they couldn't do anything about him. But the state of New York would not let Willie go to any arenas in New York. So when I was working for Senior, he would come in with the hat pulled down over his head and the coat up around his ears. I mean, and it kind of goes back to those days when, boxing really wasn't much different than pro wrestling for the outcome of fights. So it's very interesting.
Yep, definitely Regents.
Yeah.
And I just, these are such great stories. You guys are always so great to have on here. And you have so many great things coming up. Again, Andrew Anderson and Kevin Sullivan, so many great places. Social media, where should we follow you just to know what's happening and what's going on?
Drew the Wrestler at twitter.com. Andrew the Reinforcer on Instagram. Andrew Anderson, the Reinforcer Andrew Anderson, and Andrew Anderson fan pages and personal pages on Facebook. Yeah, you can just check me out. Go on YouTube. I have my own Andrew Anderson YouTube channel. And check out some of my matches, some of my career, some commercials, some of my movie.
You can get your gear there stuff as well.
Yes. So
get all that there. And again, well done on everything you've done, both of you, and what you showed there as we started off, getting ripped, right? I mean, you've really spent some real time making it happen, Andrew, this past year.
I leaned out 57 pounds. I went from 317. I think now I'm 252. From 317 in March to 252 now, and I'm still able to, like this week. This week I decided that I was going to try to see how heavy I can go with the military press. I was able to do seated military presses 225 to 245 for 3 to 4 reps. Not bad, So
well done.
Not a far cry from 315. Behind the neck for 15 reps, but it's I'll take what I can get with the weight loss. I'd rather look good at this point and be healthier than be powerful and bloated.
Quick around the feet, baby. How I feel about that.
Yep.
Yeah, and Andrew, I mean, when he started it, I said, okay, let's see how long he can go. To this day, even when we're going out and I'll have a breakfast because I'm trying to drop some weight and I'm not being as diligent as I should the last month, but I'll have a breakfast because I'll go for like 16 hours on that intermittent fasting, but for breakfast I like to have a couple of poached eggs. And I do have a weakness for bacon, so I'll have that. And I won't have any potatoes, but I'll have some cottage cheese and fruit. Andrew won't. He'll just say, no, I'm not going to eat till 4 o'clock, and he'll have coffee. And it isn't like, he hasn't dehydrated himself the night before with me and him when we get together. You know what I mean? So... Yeah.
So you just do kind of a liquid sort of thing in the day, and then how do you do it, Andrew?
Just water in between cups of coffee. I use the coffee to keep me going. I have some water. I'll have a diet soda every now and again. But I noticed in the last matches that when I woke up the one morning, I was pretty dehydrated from drinking the night before alcohol. But I woke up with abs, and Kevin and I were both like amazed at it. And then I had 3-4 Diet Cokes as the afternoon progressed, and my bloat came back because of the bubbles in the diet. So now I've eliminated all diet soda. I've eliminated anything with carbonation. So anything with carbonation. So I realize that's been helping me so much. So I look more solid, and my abs that are trying to peek out are peeking out a little more without the carbonation. So
these are some good tips. These are really, and so it's sort of like an intermittent fasting where you'll do the do that until late afternoon, and
water, Gatorade Zero to hydrate, coffee to stimulate, and nothing till 3-4 o'clock. Occasionally I'll start eating at 2, but if I start eating at 2, I stop eating at 6:37. And but if I start at 4, I can have something up until 8:30. And
digestive magic, right?
Yeah.
But he's done an amazing job.
Well done.
I was doing it too, but I hurt my knee really bad. I was in pain. So I went to my doctor and he said, you know, did you drop on you? I was one of the last, me and Greg Valentine were probably the 2 last guys not to wear knee pads. And I usually use that shoulder breaker where you drop down to your knee. Your knee's completely arthritis. But I gained a little weight back, but I kept it off mostly because I did do the strictness, Andrew, but I would stop my last meal at 7 o'clock, and I would have a lighter meal during the day. When I say a lighter meal, I would have some yogurt and a little fruit, and then I'd have a dinner. But I'd watch what I ate. But Andrew has really applied himself, brother, and I really think Andrew's going to have one big last run, and hopefully we'll start it off in November 13th, and I want you guys to come down, be our guests. We'll have a great time together.
Yeah. We're going to be at the distillery. Alan Bishop's going to be there. We're going to have a really good time, and Jim and the smugglers, the distillery has down there. We got everything going, and it's a resort and a hotel chain, and we're looking forward to having you guys, and we're gonna do maybe we do a live bourbon blog from the set.
I would love that. I would love that.
We can take a puddle hopper and be in Hopetown in the Bahamas in 35 minutes,
Don't have to bend my arm for that either, my brother.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward. Hopefully we'll see you guys real soon in person, and we always love having you here on Cigar Saturday, and it's possible you may see us next week. In more details to come, as I know Matty will be enjoying some nice beach sunshine, some great great rays there, right?
Gonna make sure no one harpoons my pale ass on a beach. Just unlike Golden Boy, Mr. AA.
Could be the hairiest fish I've ever seen.
So enough.
We've had so many good people like and share this again for that Janus Coffee Roasters bourbon barrel aged coffee tonight, and I want to show everybody to make sure, in case you don't already have it, the place to get that with the one we do with them is the bourbonblog.com/coffee. Make sure you check that out.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
It's such good coffee, isn't it?
Yep.
Amazing. We love working with Chad Bates and the gang there at Janus Coffee Roasters.
Chad, once again, thank you for the coffee. It was great.
Yes. Thank you for all you do for us, Chad. And we had 46 likes and shares. A lot of great people sharing on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Of course, we'll have it up on our podcast. Make sure you like and share this. Okay, a number between 1 and 47, Andrew.
I'll go 16.
All right, see who number 16 is for that winner. It's Zach Barnett. Zach, great job. Zach, you won that coffee. Thanks, everybody. You guys have been so good to us for over a year and a half now. Matty and I loving continuing the Cigar Saturday. More great interviews coming. And, of course, this one will be up. Kevin, Andrew, Matty, and I'm glad to have Sanj with us for a few minutes, too.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Loved it. Thank you,
Love,
guys.
Everybody be good. I'll see y'all real soon.
All right. See
Much
you
love, everybody. Thanks, guys, so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody.